We are almost at the 18th hour of our live broadcast. We are unfortunately almost at the end. We only have 6 hours left. And I would like to thank CE Milano for being with us in the backstage and coordinating us. And also I would like to thank all my colleagues that took this duty and this honor to be here online on air before and after me. I would like now to introduce you my next guest. I'm very, very, very happy to have Rosalam Cheme with me on air today. Ciao Rosalam.
Ciao cara, ciao Silvia, come stai? Bene?
Bene, bene, benissimo. I'm glad to hear that you're practicing Italian and you still have these Italian
Well,
skills.
I'm trying to because I don't have anyone to speak in Italian.
Next time we will do a conversation in Italian. I will get you ready to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rosalam was really a big friend of mine, and we shared together our PhD in Politecnico di Milano quite a few years ago. He is now a lecturer at the Department of Industrial Design at the Faculty of Design and Architecture at the University of Putra Malaysia. So we spent 3 years together in Milan, and then he came back to Malaysia to follow his dreams concerning academic life and research. And now we are back together, and it's really, 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 really a great pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
Of course, in the last weeks, we had some brief talks about what should we say, what should we share with the audience during our conversation. And I just would like to start, as I did before, with your statement. You said that just like other fields and other disciplines, design does evolve for the betterment and its adaptation towards the holistic changes around it. The evolution in design field has manifested itself in different ways throughout time, and it affects the design practice. We're mostly heading towards the digitalization and advanced technologies. So we are in the framework, of course, of understanding the design practice. And you introduced the 3 keywords: design practice, design for year 4, and digital era designers. And from your statement, it seems that from your perspectives, future changes in design field and especially in design practice will deal with the pace and complexity of technological, economical, and societal change of industry, of academia, and of community. How do you think the changes or the evolution in design as a field can help the betterment of its practice?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, thank you so much, Silvia, for having me today. It's been an honor as always, and I know it's very late now in Milan. It's 3 in the morning, right? The
Yeah,
fact
it's
that you're still awake,
3:30, but I have a coffee, so I can
yeah,
do
I hope you have your
it.
coffee and wine with you. Right. So, like, we did our PhD together back in 2013 and 2016, and then since around that, I mean, we've been hearing a lot of discussion and agreements about where people actually put design. Does it actually has its own field, discipline, or is it like interconnected with each other? The concept of um, what we call that, the wicked problems, and then the concept of donut, if you remember, like the
Yeah.
donut, the hole inside, and then everything is round connected to it. So the arguments about the design as a discipline or as a field has become, something to discuss about since ages ago. But having said that, right, everything like people live with any kind of discipline or any kind of field, everything is changing, everything is evolving, everything is transforming for betterment. So, like as a key functions of within innovation, design practice has gradually evolved to better deal with the pace and complexity of technological, economic, and societal change of industry, academia, and community. So basically, this is what I deal every day as an academic. I mean, I believe you are the same too. Like
Yeah.
academic related matters, students affairs, research related works, industrial collaboration, community services, and whatnot. So these are all our KPIs, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
for me, like in general, design is a roadmap or a strategic approach for someone to achieve a unique expectation, right? So traditionally or conventionally, I believe that how it is was previously and most probably still remain the same until today. The design core principles of human-centeredness, collaborations, and the use of prototypes has remained the same over time. The way in which they put into practice has adapted has adapted into the innovation challenges of time. But having said that, the design practices related to human-centeredness, collaborativeness, prototyping are and might have been executed and evolved across the era of industrial era, digitalization, service, and whatnot. So just like we have this current phenomenon at present, the Industry 4.0 paradigm. It was
Yeah.
first started in Germany back in 2011, and it's been somehow become commercial and popular in Europe. So the things that related to Industry 4.0 has become word of mouth. People are talking about it every day. So I got exposure, and it was really a privilege for me to be given that opportunity to be studying in a world prestigious university like POLIMI itself, because this is where I get exposed to all this kind of stuff. And then it has influenced the digital transformation of manufacturing, production, and related industries and value creation processes. So in Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, it is basically the cyber physical system advancement that involves the Internet of Things, additive manufacturing, big data, etc., has long started in the Western countries and as well as in Europe, right? And I mean, in Malaysia, in my country, we are still catching up, but we are catching up quite constantly and productively as well. We've been using it almost every day. So based on such evaluation and the current strength in design, I think further exploration should be promoted to succeed in innovating the digital area. So we have to really further strengthening, further promoting, further encouraging the youngsters, the people in our generation, to really fully utilize this innovation, right? But again, the appropriate design research, like we are all designers, design academic, and design research at the same time. The appropriate design research must be grounded in the fundamental understanding of the nature of design practice. I mean, we have to understand what really means, what is the nature of our research first in order for us to go further and go to the next
Yeah.
step. So, which means that we need to first understand who, how, and why, why we are dealing with. And such an understanding can be developed into well-grounded and rich set of rigorous and disciplined design methods and techniques, and else maybe appropriate to the needs and desires of practicing designers as we are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I remember your experiences with Polyfactory and
Yeah,
your first experience with
it was
Industry
it was a bit
4.0.
struggle and everything, but with all the helps and assistance, it was such a great pleasure. Yeah,
No, but you succeeded very well in reaching the objective that you were pushing for yourself. So
with your help.
absolutely. Also, this context was also a sort of competition and a sort of collaboration between different actors. And I think that the betterment of design practice also deals with this awareness that we should create a sort of network of different skills between designers and different, let's say, learning and be aware of the new technologies that can be inserted into the design process. Absolutely. And so I think that I mean, how those changes could influence the way you practice your design-related work as a designer and as a design academic? I mean, I think that your personal experience could give some hints on this topic. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if we put it this way, design practice and digital era, they are not they are not mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive mean in logic or probability theory, right? Two events are mutually active or disjoint when they cannot occur at the same time. But design practice and digital era, they are not mutually active, meaning that the influence towards the design practice from the digital era is interrelated and works both ways. Which means that they both might have an effect towards each other. Design practice can boost the digitalization at the compatible way. The digital era may improve the way design practice their design. So it works both ways. You know, this co-evaluation of design, society, and digital technologies require this generation, our current generation, to develop new competencies and skills among which human creativity is the most important one. But the central, I mean, when we talk about this, there is always a question arise. The big question arise from all this consideration is about how the technology, how this technological evaluation is influencing the creative thinking abilities of the digitally enhanced generation. Or we can put it this way, how the current and future designers, as we are now and our future, future designers, design researchers and design academics can fully utilize digitalization and technology to accommodate and motivate their creativity, their creative thinking, the innovativeness, the collaborativeness, in practicing the design as a whole, the designers in general. So this is, I think, one of the most valuable assets that cannot be wasted, because even the digital era is constantly evolving. So they are evolving, and so we have to keep up with that. So there is actually a huge responsibility and demand for us, at the current generation, to be productively evolving as well. Not to
Yeah.
stick around and not just being too comfortable doing things as how we were doing things the old-fashioned way, because we have to evolve. So we are all moving towards digital enhancement. Technology is becoming our next nature and company. So schools and organization, so we should be able to deal with this digital generation representing the actors in our near future. So it is therefore essential for the design research to understand how this technology have an impact on the creative design process. This is in order for us to update the conceptual, we call it conceptual toolbox, facilitate and guide the expression of people creative potential, to address new technological challenges. And I mean, the end result, what we want to produce, or what's the biggest outcome is to achieve the large scale innovation. Okay? And yes, as for
Yeah.
me, as a design researcher, design academic, so I deal a lot with user context. Understanding the users, their needs, the demands, and capacity is the key to achieve the ultimate goal of the research and design project. So, like me specifically, like I putting people or user in the center of design process is the main principle, and this is actually the principle of user-centered design approach, or UCD. I know you know that. So, as the design practice is evolving for its betterment along with the latest technology in the digital era, so the research approach conduct simultaneously. I mean, at the same time, influence as well. So the integration of technologies and digitalization does have a place in the design research, and I do acknowledge that, and I apply that in my research as well. And when I was doing my PhD back in Politecnico di Milano with Silvia, we are in the same research group. So what I was dealing with last time was actually with regard to the assistive technology. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I remember. And I think that assistive technologies are, of course, a sort of new horizon, a new field that we should explore even more. It's a field that is already evolving super fastly in the last years, and it can be the fertile ground to find some new advancement concerning design research and user-centeredness. And also concerning user-centeredness, do you think that human-centeredness, collaboration and the use of prototypes has remained the same over time, or in this digital era, is it changed something about this relationship in your mind?
Yeah, it has influence. Like as I mentioned, like just like any other fields, the design field has evolved, and then it has taken the effect on each other. So the way the designers think, the way we use our technology, the way we practice our design, it does been influenced. It has the effect on how we conduct our research, our design research, or design projects in general. Like yes, I mean we're talking about the design principles, or the inclusion, the user-centered design. Um, my field, my research field of interest revolve around the user and human factors, especially those with special needs and unique in capacities, unique in capability. So we know that over the past few decades, over the past 2 decades, more or less, there are significant changes for both negative and positive impacts in politics, social, economic, and legal spheres that open a very big opportunities for design and technological intervention to serve the community. So this is actually indicated by the increase in awareness of knowledge and the importance of human-computer interaction, HCI, information and communication technology, ICT, Internet of Things, and other technology-related platforms such as the media to bridge the issues between the community levels and the possible solution. So, I mean, I've been hearing a lot about how designers, we actually become a bridge. We become the bridge. Not only the bridge, we become the person who able the bridge to be constructed and the link between other fields, other disciplines, and us. So we are somehow the mastermind of the problem solver. But of course, we need other people, other disciplines to work with, right? So, but yeah, utilizing the technology in the appropriate manner could certainly be very beneficial to every level of ages and diverse communities. So, again, having said that, even users are often considered as the main consumers. Users with special needs and unique capability, users with special needs and unique capability, as well as the senior citizens, have always been neglected. Okay, in the view of design for commonly used or everyday products. Then again, the pressing needs to design with respect to older and physically disabled people should be really further encouraged and addressed. This is principally due to the fact that population is continuously aging. When we did our research last time, we talked about how constantly the numbers of aging population in whole world are increasing. I think you're still doing the research about the
Yes,
older people, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yes, I deal a lot with
Uh,
that.
I
Almost
think
every
you also
quarter.
do that. I think you are also
Yes,
coordinating
I'm still
a
continuing that.
design group on that, right?
Yeah, because I'm currently having a few postgraduate students, masters and PhD, and we work within the same topic. So, people with disabilities, elderly with cognitive impairment, elderly with such disabilities, and I still work with that. So it is very important. It is very obvious that the decisions for the design mainstream and production of everyday products, system, or services should really appropriately meet the necessities and not neglecting the disabilities by this group of population. So, like one of the things that we always look at last time to understand what kind of difficulties that limit the performance of everyday tasks, we can always refer to activities of daily life,
Yeah.
ADL. So besides that, I mean, it is undoubtedly, without doubt, that one of the most fundamental requirements in designing and developing new product system or services is to place. We have to know, we have to somehow really put into attention that putting the users in the center of attention, the center of design process. So in fact, this is actually what user-centered design, the concept of UCD is all about. And then it's defined as the design processes in which end users influence how design takes shape, how design takes place. So by bearing in mind, by putting into consideration the user's demands, needs, and problems, the task for us designers to assure products practicality, functionality, aesthetic, and even preference towards the user are certainly achievable. Okay, for example, like we did our PhD back in our time about dealing with people with dementia. So you work within the space, I work in within the product innovation,
Wearable technology, yes.
wearable technologies. Yes, you remember. Yes.
Absolutely.
So like first, I mean, by understanding the limits of physically disabled people, we design products that should be used by these users with very minimum physical effort because we don't want to burden them. So like again, I am somewhat very keen, very passionate to relate my research interest with the use of technology, regardless of levels, mediums, and platforms. So when I mentioned about the placing the users with special needs, as a center attention of design process. This is actually very much associated with the principle of inclusive design, in which
Yeah,
inclusive design is actually parallel with universal design and design for all. They are basically the same. They just have different designation and they've been used in different era of the world, different area of the world. So inclusive design is focused on particular design that include and address the needs of the wider possible numbers of consumers. And this is actually in line with the universal design and design for all because we want to include everyone, right?
of course.
We don't want to neglect the people, especially the people with special needs, right? So although, like again, although they have a different designation, they greatly patronize the thought in expanding the accessibility of the interactive system for the widest possible range of users. And the consideration of inclusive design upholds actually brings out the philosophy of UCD, the user-centered design, in order to promote more design and technological solution, especially for the target people with disabilities, through the creation of pertinent technology that can assist their incapacities. And when we talk about this, when I describe all this, actually the great thing is that this is actually the what assistive technology is all about. You know, the by definition, assistive technology is the device or system or tools that allow actually individual to perform a task that they otherwise would never be unable to do. You know, like
Yeah.
because assistive technology in general, any device or any technology that can help them to do their activities of daily living basically without supervision, without very less,
Yeah, to
very
maintain
less.
independence and to
Yes,
perform daily life activities
and
with
to maintain
dignity
the,
and
yes,
independence. Yes,
the quality of life. Yeah, that,
exactly.
that they need to
We
do.
are
So
still there.
yeah. So like okay, so now like in this new media age, there are constant discoveries in the field of design and technology, of course, and we cannot run away from the fact that the design practice has influenced by the technological integration, right? So obviously even the most useful thing can bring drawbacks if it's not appropriately utilized. We know there are so many arguments and research and discussion about how technology is used by if it's used wrongly, it can bring harm. It can bring harm to the people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, as a responsible designer, we are ought to make use of technology for the useful and beneficial outcomes. Like it should be, it should. I mean, for me, technology should be used to make human more human, not the other way, not less human,
yeah.
right? So
True.
we
That's
have
a
to
very
be
nice
responsible.
sentence.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
have to be very responsible, very ethical. That why would you use technology for something that is not good for the people, right? So we have to use it for the benefits. Yeah,
Of course, of course. You touched on a great point. Also, thinking about the kind of people we work with, as you said, we share the research on people with dementia. So, how we used to call them is extraordinary people, but
yeah,
not to take a joke, but really
yeah.
to
They
point
are really
out that
special.
yeah, they are really special because as designers, you need to put yourself into their shoes to understand the point of view they have, the reactions they have, and you need to have a certain sensibility in order to design artifacts, technological artifacts, why not, that really should, let's say, help their independence, help their dignity, help them to perform daily life activities. And this use of technology, as you said, to make human more human is absolutely one of the new frontiers I feel that we should look for. Probably you already answered the part of our third question that was about how do
Oh,
inclusive
yeah.
design and user-centered approaches guide your research work. I think that you already answered part of that. And I really feel that you haven't lost that sensibility that we had when we were doing the PhD together. Working with inclusive design means to have a sort of framework that on one side we should include everyone into the design process,
Yeah.
but on the other side we should also understand that each human being has his own specific special needs that needs to be understood from the designer point of view in order to develop effective projects.
Yeah.
And I do feel, I would like to say, to understand if you do feel the same regarding the fact that probably we are facing a changing in the inclusive design field. I mean, I think that the paradigms are changing. Let me explain you why. Because I feel that, of course, we talked about in the history of design a lot about inclusive design, about design for all,
Mm.
human-centered design. And now I think we are going towards a new boundary, let's say, towards a new horizon that it's even more than the inclusive design. I think that we should go towards the objective of talking about fragilities, but fragilities as something that is not an extraordinary condition of society, but as something that is one of the possibilities of society. I think that this could be one of the, for example, the lesson learned from COVID-19. I think that all of us felt a little
Yeah.
bit fragile during this period. And so I think that we should move towards the idea of inclusive design, going to the idea that include fragility into society means that we all could be fragile someday, somehow. Do you think that this changing, this changing, yes, is already in place, or do you feel something different in Malaysia?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're heading to because yes, I haven't actually think of that, right? Um, because this is something that we never expected to actually to happen, right? And
Yes.
it affects a lot, like worldwide. I mean, we were actually, well, to be honest, in the first time, in the first month that it hit our country, it hit the world, we were making fun of it, right? We don't take it so much. We,
Yeah.
we took we took it lightly. We don't really
Yeah,
take
because it seems so weird. No one was expecting. Oh, yes.
like
Shall we be
that.
like
Yes,
this?
that only happened in the movies or Netflix series,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But it's happening, and we are still facing it now until today. So, like it or not, I mean, the world is the world that we live now. This is our we call it the new norm, like, and then God knows when this will end, and
Yeah.
when we can only go back to how we were. I really would love
Yeah.
to travel to Europe again. Good to see you. But above all this, the crisis, we have to somehow put it in the positive way, the bright side of it. Like the crisis create needs, which at the same time, the needs creates the needs that actually demands creativity, and this is actually the time that we have to understand the importance of creativity and innovativeness, and why creativity and innovativeness are very critical. It is very demanded than
Yeah.
ever during the pandemic.
Of course.
Because like crisis, it creates opportunities. We have to take opportunity. We have to take advantage of the situation and not let it go to waste, right? Because
Of course.
that's what we do. We are designers. We are the bridge. We conceptualize the solutions, so we cannot just stop. And like you mentioned, like because we have to somehow include more scope in the field of inclusive design per se, because like previously in inclusive design we were talking about the people with special needs. We have to include as many people as possible, but here is the new thing. The pandemic is new thing, so we have to somehow
Yeah.
really put into consideration, and we have to really encourage the future research or the current research or research work to really look into this, how the inclusive design principle can specifically help the people, especially at this moment, because this is not end yet. It's still
No.
happening. Yeah,
Yeah, and it will still be like this, I think, for some years or more. I mean,
I don't know.
in a different way, but unfortunately, we will have to live together with this kind of
Yeah,
period a bit more,
yeah,
let's say. And that's right, you touched the idea of the new normal. Exactly. I think that as designer, we have the duty to make this bridge, to envision what the new normal will be, what also in our two cases, what the new normal will be for such fragile people that already are experiencing a new normal in their daily life. That's a great closure for our conversation, I feel. Unfortunately, we ran out of time.
Yeah.
I can't stay here an hour more talking to you. Really,
Yes, we have
I'm
another conversation later on.
yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And thank you very much, Rosalam, for being here today. I'm super, super happy, and really, I wish you all the best for the future. And let's do something together and collaborate, and let's make this bridge,
Yeah,
as we
thank you
said.
so much. Thank you for having me.